Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tier 2 Assetto Corsa Competizione on the PS4 in the AOR leagues. And we begin our fastest qualifying lap here today. Currently in 5th place on a 56.0, a pretty good lap, the best lap I've done ever, I think, so far. But you can see turn 1 taking all the apex, then a little bit of apex at turn 2, using all the track on the exit. We're a bit lucky to get away with not invalidating there. Now moving on to turns 3, 4, 5 through to 6. Very tidy through there, keeping it on the curb. Trying to open up this corner. This will pretty much define your lap, how you go through there. Very tidy on the power, keeping it nice and tight as we go on to the longest straight in what must be the world, because this is absolutely insane how long this straight is. But you can see we're basically level with our 56.0, so we do have time to gain in the final sector, but we need to make sure we absolutely maximise it. We definitely need some good points in this race and the next if we want to move up the table in the league, as we're sort of lower half of it at the moment. But nice and tidy through there. Now probably the toughest corner, very easy to go wide and invalidate, very easy to lose the back end, very easy to turn in too early for this part, but we've done it pretty well there. You can see we're almost 3 tenths up, and now trying to keep it nice and tight, using a little bit of the curb. Almost half a second up now on our best lap time, coming into the penultimate corner. Again, nice and tight. This track's all about trying to keep the car smooth and tight through all of the corners. Now on the exit you see we had gone up to 6 tenths up, but we've sort of dropped it on exit as that was a pretty poor final corner there for a 55.7, which puts us 3rd. I hadn't ever done better than that, but we were 3rd, almost a second off 1st. But you can see now as we move on to the start of the race, the Porsche behind us, Will Friedman gets a great start. The Mercedes on our right jumps us already. We've hemorrhaged 2 positions. Being nice and cautious into turn 1, you can see we've got Ross on our left, and Ross actually hits us, and that drops us down to 7th place off the start. So starting in 3rd, we've dropped to 7th. I think half my races so far have been affected by turn 1 incidents, and I'm yet to be the cause of any of them. At some point I have to turn for that first corner, and I've not been given the choice there. Be interested to see what Ross's perspective of it is, as I do have it a bit later in the race to show. But now it's all about trying to put that out of my head, settle into a bit of a rhythm. I should have the pace on the people ahead of me now, because I out-qualified them, so in theory I'll be quicker, but being quicker isn't the only part of getting past someone. You need to set the moves up, and that's something I've struggled with all season. You can see in a straight line though, closing in, this is clearly going to be the place where you overtake. You want to set up a move into that first corner off the long straight, but you see now into the second corner off the long straight, we've gone quite wide, and Random Punchline has smelt that he can get through, and he has done it. Never mind, that's JMOT. JMOT gets through, so I'm absolutely surrounded by Lexuses right now. I've got 2 in front, 1 behind, and hopefully they'll give me an insane slipstream because how much bigger their car is than mine. But if they're in someone else's slipstream, it's going to be hard to get past. But now down to 8th, and it's not looking good for what could have potentially been a podium if you start in 3rd. It's become lower half of the grid, which does suck quite badly. But we now see on board with Ross out into turn 1. It's alongside us sort of, and then just sort of doesn't really. I don't know where he expects me to really go. There's no bad blood between us or anything, but he helped me massively at Silverstone to try and get him some pace there when I was struggling in practice sessions. So I got nothing against him, but it's frustrating that my race has sort of taken a huge hit, because although I didn't lose much time, it's about the time you lose then following cars. Like, doing a sort of 58 stuck behind these cars, where I should be able to do 57s consistently in this first stint. So it's definitely frustrating. As we see now, Random Punchline, JMOT and the Lexus going side by side. It looks like JMOT's got ahead. They keep it nice and tight there, very tight, very defensive lines from JMOT there, as we now look at trying to set up a move. We are sort of up the inside, but we're not really going for that. That would have been suicide, I think. But it's all about trying to settle into a rhythm, and unfortunately we're not really doing so. We haven't really got a choice, because we have to give up so much time behind this car as it gets a bit sideways through the penultimate corner, and because the way I was looking at the apex, it felt like I was actually losing the back end then when I was driving, but luckily we did not, and we're through cleanly, still in 8th, 10 minutes into the race. You can see now we are all over the back of Random Punchline though. We think about putting it up the inside, but think better of it. Can we do something into the following corner? No, it looks like we're going to sit behind for now. And if we'd have maybe got a better line through there, because we really messed up the exit of that double right. If we'd have maybe got a better line through there, we might have been able to set up a move into this corner now, but it's just not worked out for us. We stay in 8th place. Around the penultimate corner. Okay, a little bit of oversteer and catch it, and then have it again and we catch it, but it's sent us out wide off the track, and we've had to rejoin, and unfortunately that means that Danny Boy and Roadhouse have got ahead of us, so qualified 3rd, 10 minutes in, I'm down to 10th. That's so frustrating, because I felt like I had so much pace to give at this point in the race, but not being given the opportunity to do it. A silly mistake like that is it's going to cost you. It's frustrating as well, because I'd never had an issue through that corner at all. I don't know whether it was a bit of dirty air, but I don't know how much that affects in this game. So now settling into 10th place. You see Random Punchline has dropped positions to Danny Boy and Roadhouse. He must have made a mistake over the last 5 minutes or so. We're now following him onto the long straight, and if you're within half a second or so, that's probably going to mean you're going to be able to make a move, and we were within 3/10, so the move is definitely on. See how much we're gaining in the slipstream, a little bit of rubber banding. Now side by side, pushing him right to the edge of the track. And we've cleared him before the corner, and that's perfect for us. The Ferrari feels very nice through the first corner after the long straight, so never really felt threatened by him out of it. And now our attention turns to the trio ahead of us, being held by JMOT. It looks like JMOT really struggling. In fact, I think the Lexuses in general were struggling a bit in this first stint. I'm not sure why. But if we can get onto the back of them before the pit window and then maybe go for an undercut, get a perfect pit stop, that could be perfect for us. But as it stands, just got to try and close that gap. On the long straight now, on the 43rd minute to the end of the race, you can see they're 3 wide on the straight. See if we can gain huge amounts of time due to their battling, as it looks like the order's switched and JMOT's dropped 2 positions, Roadhouse has jumped 2, and Danny Boy stays in the middle of that little pack. But what that has done, you can see how much we've gained. We were about 2 seconds behind them now, we're in the fight now. This is good for us. We've got to try and dispatch of JMOT quickly, because he looks like the car that's struggling the most at the moment. A little bit of a slide out of the penultimate corner. We are so close to the back of him. You can see he's dropped a few tenths of a second to the cars ahead. We've gained on him massively, so he shouldn't get as much of a slipstream effect on the long straight in a few corners time. We almost hit the back of him heading into turn 1. That would have been disastrous. That would have been more damage than I already have. I've currently got a second of damage. And it would have potentially resulted in both of us spinning and a steward's inquiry for me. But now just trying to follow him through here. You can see we dropped a bit, but he's made a mistake, which has put us right back onto his back again. Compromised his line through probably the most crucial corner on the track, and we are all over him now within 3 tenths. Should be a pretty easy pass, especially as he's taken a pretty poor line through there. We're already alongside nearly, so let's hope our engine can outdo him. That little bit of slipstream boost we would have had at the start. A little bit of rubber banding again, but looks like we're going to be ahead heading into this right-hander. Again, we're clear just before we get to the corner, but he is trying to stick it out round the outside, but he's never going to have the room there. And now recovery drive's going fairly well, so from 10th up to 8th now with 2 overtakes, and our attention is turned to Danny Boy, who we were about 2.5 seconds behind, and we've gained on him in those 5 minutes by about a second there, so that's very good as we head into the pits. What's the pit stop like? Very slow crawl in, but it was pretty much a perfect pit stop. I think I was a bit slow turning the engine off, but it was a pretty good one, and that's definitely not going to lose us any time. Now you can see, cutting about 5 minutes ahead after our pit stop, Danny Boy has left the pits. Roadhouse has actually carried on, but you can see I believe we've gained quite a lot on Ross, so we're only about 4 seconds behind Ross and Danny Boy. And now this lap is going to be crucial because our tyres are up to pressure, whereas theirs aren't. You can see this is our fastest lap of the race it's going to be, so I'll let you sit on board with it. Just see how much that gap comes down over the course of this lap. So the lap we do is a 56.2, so not too far off what it did in qualifying. Pretty much giving it everything through the lap, and we've cut the gap down by almost 3 seconds over the entirety of the lap, and you can see now we are within striking distance of Danny Boy. Ross is still holding him up quite a lot. Ross is quite out of shape coming through turn 2, pushes Danny Boy over to the right, and we follow Danny Boy past Ross for a nice easy overtake, but he is still there on our left hand side. We are going to of course leave him the room he deserves, hoping for no more contact with him, because that would be disastrous, but looks like we've got the move done. But the only thing to worry about now is whether he's going to have enough of a slipstream on us and enough engine power to get past us, because we're not really close enough to Danny to get a massive tow, whereas he's going to be stuck right behind us. You can see it's come down from 3 tenths to 2 tenths. But luckily it's remained pretty stable and it doesn't look like he's gaining any more on us. So maybe his engine's maxed out. Luckily for us. So of course into 7th now, and with 20 minutes to go almost, Roadhouse is out the pits, so he's going for fresh tyres at the end. Luckily Ross gets ahead of him, and hopefully we'll be able to hold him up for a bit, because Roadhouse has won 5 out of 7 races before this one, I think. He's on a 5 winning streak, so I don't fancy my chances being quicker than him. But if Ross can wind the clock down and give me less time to defend, that'd be great. The following lap, you can see we're still right behind Danny Boy, but unfortunately we've got Roadhouse right behind us. So we really need to get past Danny Boy, and quickly, otherwise Roadhouse is going to dispatch of us on those fresh tyres. You can see we are all over the back of Danny Boy now. I felt very strong through this corner. You can see we gain on him massively just through that corner. We've set up the move almost through that corner already. So we're 3 tenths behind. How much of a tow are we going to get? Is it going to be enough? The Bentley has been very strong in a straight line, I've noticed, throughout the race. We're barely getting a tow. It does now sort of start to close in a bit more. It comes across to cover us off, and then he just goes wide. He gets it wrong, and that's a position for us. Is he going to get ahead of Roadhouse? Looks like he is for the time being, but unfortunately Roadhouse follows me through, and 16 minutes to defend from the championship leader. The championship probably will be wrapped up by him if he just finishes. So I guess he doesn't need to go for any do or die moves because it's sort of his now, but you can see just the same lap I was about to start, having to go defensive into the right-hander. But that's what we need to do. We need to stay ahead and be able to defend that corner, because if you've got the inside, there's not much the car on the outside can do. The extra distance is too much. Still ahead in 5th place for what would be our best result of the season so far. We get a little bit of oversteer coming out of turn 2. We're going to keep the throttle down off track. Can we keep the position, or is the mistake going to be too much? And unfortunately Roadhouse does get through. So it's disappointing, but to be honest, he just had to sort of stick with me. 1 lap and it was going to be done. And now attention is turned rearwards to Danny Boy, but in that stint I pulled away with Roadhouse from Danny Boy by 8 seconds over that sort of 10-minute period, which is quite impressive. I only dropped back from more than a second, apart from Roadhouse, within the last couple of laps where my tyres started to feel a bit shaky. So my pace was really good. It's just sad I couldn't do anything about it really. We're only going to finish 8 seconds behind Jemmy on track, I believe, at the end of the race, which, if you consider that we had that incident and we were being held up all race, I definitely could have had a podium there. But oh well. It's not as if there's only 1 race left in the season or anything.